a long time, I was scared to share my true color, to be who I truly was. I was hiding in the story I was reading, fearful of what people would think about me. But this ends now. I have stopped running. I decide to accept my diversity. Today, I will share our story of neurodiversity and mental health awareness. Welcome on the ADHD Melly Show. Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well. It's been a while. I know I was so busy with school. I got sick, etc., etc. So yeah, it's been a 2 week without a show. But today I'm back. I'm back with Haeila. We're going to talk about how to seek a diagnosis and support while you have ADHD or any other neurodiversity. So I'm going to bring Haeila right now, and we're going to talk a little bit. So just bring Haeila and clap your hands for Haeila. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm super good. I'm fantastic. I'm so happy that you're here today. You were there at the Neurodiversity Awareness event, so you can go downstairs and go neurodiversityevent.com to buy the replay or to pre-buy the next show that is going to be the May 1st, so you can already do that as well. So talk to me a little bit more about your background.
My background. I have 3 different diplomas in completely unrelated fields. But the commonality in between them was to help people. It's however way you choose to do it. There's always a way to help people in your job. And I find, like, after doing my bachelor's and working, and then I decided to travel, and I talked about it during the neurodiversity awareness event as well. And I found myself a little bit more, and I decided to go back to school and to really go into consulting. And so now I'm a management consultant. We specialize a little bit more in HR where I work. And so we help people, we help businesses to be more efficient, be more human, be more. So we do org design, we do a whole bunch of different things, but basically I work to make people have a better experience at work. And because we spend so many hours of our life at work, and so if you're gonna be there every day for the rest of your life, pretty much, might as well make it a good experience. Might as well make things work for you and not be frustrated of everything that goes on wrong, and relationships with colleagues and management, and so that's what I do. And I like it very much.
So, why did you decide to seek for an adult diagnosis? What make you decide that you needed to go get some help, that something was wrong with you?
I wouldn't say wrong. I would say I've always been very different than the rest, than the norm. And I was trying to fit in the norm. And so there's so many images of how, like a puzzle piece that's trying to fit into other puzzle pieces and chops off a little piece because that's too much for that area. And so that was me and a lot of us, basically. And so when I finally was able to speak with a person, a colleague that when I went back to school with, about his diagnosis and the difficulties I was feeling, and concentration, and he was like, "Hey, you might be one of us." So go look into it more. Which before that, it had never occurred to me. So I was able to go research more about it and go, yeah, like I think I might be that. So it took a long time, but I was lucky enough to to get an appointment and get diagnosed on that particular matter. But you get diagnosed officially or unofficially. Obviously, if you need medication for to help you with your ADHD and in your life, a lot of people, it changes so much. It goes like my life was very chaotic and disorganized, and I was, struggling. And then they take medication and they're like, oh my God, it's life changing. I finally am capable of all I should be capable of. But not everybody needs medication, and that's okay. But obviously, so seeing a healthcare professional and having a diagnosis will help you. If you do need medication, it's important. But in any case, if you don't have access to that, self-diagnosis is very much okay. It's the more you, with internet nowadays, you could research on anything, and whether it's ADHD or any other neurodiversity, when you read something and you're like, oh my God, that's me, or whoever you want to say, oh my. But when finally you're like, oh my, this person gets me, this is me, this, wow, I'm understood, that you're like, okay, that might be me. I might, fit into that box, even if every one of us is unique and different. But when you find commonality, that's when, you get that aha moment, and that's also valid.
So, what was your first step to get a diagnosis?
I researched online for different neuro psychology clinics. So it has to, well, depending, like some people will go see their medical doctor, and they'll ask you a couple of questions, and be able to have enough information to go, okay, we'll test out some medication. But if you want to have your real diagnosis, will be done, your official medical, paper that says you have a diagnosis, and what you're, because that diagnosis is not, okay, you have ADHD. It also says, okay, these are your strengths, these are your weaknesses, and every one of us that has ADHD will have different strengths and different things that they'll struggle with. So having that also helps you go, okay, I need help with this, but this I'm okay, I'm not too bad. And so it helps you know yourself better and organize yourself better. So having that official, more in-depth diagnosis, you go see a neuropsychologist. And so I called a couple of places, and they're like, no, our waiting list is full, and or, oh, it's going to be in a year. So I found one that had like a 6-month waiting or list or something. And so eventually showed up, and it's a full day for ADHD. I know it can be longer. I think for autism, it can be multiple days. So every clinic and every type of diagnostic will be different. But for me, it was a full day, and it was like a 3-hour morning, and then lunch break, and then 3-hour afternoon.
Oh my God.
I'm not quite sure, but yeah, it was. And I arrived there, and I'm like, super energy, and like I'm very positive, and like, okay, let's do this. And as the morning goes, my level of energy goes, and then I'm just completely washed out. And by lunchtime, and he's like, like your scores are pretty okay, but just that difference in level of energy tells me that you put way more effort than would usually demand these exercises. So he's like, that's also a clue that there might be something. He's like, okay, go eat lunch and rest, because we have another afternoon of more tests. And so I come back, and he's like, oh, are you okay? Like, yeah, but I'm still not back to my level of energy of the morning, because it demands so much more energy for us to concentrate. And those tests that they make you do, they're not that difficult. They're not, big complicated things, but some will demand more attention and some less. And so they use that also as a baseline. So how do you score normally, and like for things that don't demand specific attention, and then how do you score with those that demand attention? And there might be a huge difference in between them, and they're like, well, this is you, and this is, with your attention deficit, your capabilities are less as the day goes on, because you're getting more exhausted and more difficult to concentrate. And yeah, so had more exercising. And it's to be noted, I did it as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
um, so it might be different exercises also when you're a child. A 5-year old doesn't read the same thing as an adult. So in those exercises, some of them would be writing and reading and just listening to things and reacting. And so they test really like your full range of human capability of different,
Mm-hmm.
really everything. And then at the end of the day, he was like, okay, the day is done, you go back home, and in a month you'll come back for a 1.5 hour session. And during that month, I will take the time to analyze all the data I recorded today. And when you come back, I will tell you the official diagnosis and what specificities of you that were analyzed, and the data that speaks up. And so I went back a month later, and he said, yes, you do have it. In my case, I was scoring quite high, which would explain why I spend so much of my life without knowing it, because
Mm-hmm.
I, even if I wasn't paying attention half the time, I would fill in the gaps quite easily with the information I did pick up.
Mm-hmm.
And I had already found, ways to, not forget my keys, not forget my phone, and, all different things that are very typical that you need to find tricks to be functional in day-to-day life. I had found, so that's why it took me so long before I went, oh, you know what, I'm actually doing all these tricks, but I did it without specifically putting them in place, because I knew it was putting them in place because to avoid having those difficulties. So yeah, and in my case, I was scoring at a certain level when it didn't take attention for the test, and I was scoring lower, a lot more lower when it did take attention. So he was like, "There's a big difference when you do need attention." And so it also helped me with school, because at that time, I was still doing my diploma when I went back to school with that colleague of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And so it also helped with school, and having an official diagnostic. The school was able to accommodate me in some factors. For example, if a teacher had PowerPoints for their sessions, and but did not give them to the class, for me, it was supposed to be, well, if I ask you to give them to me, you should give them to me, so I can take notes on them and not have to write everything you're saying or take notes of everything on a
Mm-hmm.
PowerPoint. Because for me, writing, I'm just very slow. I
Me
write very
too.
slow. But also, someone talking to me, I have to pay attention to record, and so if I'm writing what you just said, I'm missing what you are saying right now while I'm writing, because it's
Mm-hmm.
either or. Either I listen to you and I get the information and then I write it down, but you can't tell me something new while I'm writing down. For me, it doesn't work. So
Mm-hmm.
knowing that, it was the teacher would have to accommodate me by at least, I would have less notes to take. Or it was also a possibility, which was not necessary, because I was able to have the notes. But some people will also have a colleague that will take notes for them during the class, or so they're taking notes for themselves anyways. And so that colleague will be designated as also giving you their notes. So
Mm-hmm.
someone who writes, pretty neatly, so you can read their notes. So that's the type of help that you can get when you're in school, when you do have an official diagnosis. As well, um, doing my exams in a room full of other people that are coughing, sniffing, paper and pens and asking questions, and all that is extra noise and stimulus that takes me out of concentrating on my on my work, on my exam. So I was also able to have my exam in either a private small like room with just someone
Mhm.
there to make sure I was doing it properly, or in very smaller groups. So there's less distraction, less noise. So I was able to concentrate properly on my exam. Some people will also be allowed to have extra time for their exam because you lose concentration. So all that time you
Mhm.
lose, you're not doing your exam. So that's there's a lot of different things that are available now for students, and it's such a great help. Mm.
It's true. I do have some accommodation myself with college. I have more time in the exams and stuff like that. Somebody that can write notes for me. Yes, there is. But sometimes I find that it's not enough, but that's my own opinion, I guess, because
Mm.
I would definitely need maybe tutoring and stuff like that, and sometimes you have to pay a lot of money to get it. I do, but you have to invest a lot more than other students that already pay the normal college fee, so that sucks sometimes.
Yeah, I
But
don't know
yeah.
about your college though, but at university, that was also an option. If you're having difficulties and
Mhm.
your grades are not what the rest of the class are, and in order to help you with that
Mhm.
specific class and the study, tutoring is an option as well. So sometimes they'll say, "Hey, choose someone who's really good at that class that understands well and that's able to explain it well as also, and ask them if they want to tutor you, and they'll give a little compensation. So some money will be paid out to that student for a specific number of hours or sessions for them to tutor you, to help you with that class that you're taking.
Mhm.
So that's also sometimes a possibility that's offered, but not every class all the time, but maybe you can look into that. So it would be the university paying them, not
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, we'll check into that, of course, but for now, I need to put that on my own self because I have an exam like in 2 weeks, so it's not really an option for me right now to look into that, and I don't want to cause myself more stress.
That's
And yeah,
okay.
it's easier to pay and just think about it later, right?
Mhm. But definitely when you do have this time and it's not too stressful, you can look into that. Go there. So most schools um, will have a department, or at least minimum one person that's there to support students with any type of special needs.
Mhm.
And so just to say, hey, I'm here, I'm a student, I exist, I have these needs. Can we talk about like what is possible, like I'd like you to help me. And so by then someone is assigned to you, and you get meetings once in a while, and they ask you how it's doing, and you create a plan together for you to succeed at school. So plans will include some of those help, extra time in exams, some tutoring on some specific classes. And so it's very helpful to have someone to talk to sometimes, but also that's there for you to succeed. So they'll try to give you all the help they can get you.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit more about what kind of support you have and how you can ask for more support, not necessarily with school, but in your personal life. I mean, other kind of support, not necessarily really related to ADHD.
Hmm. Well, I don't have there's no one answer fits all. It all depends on you, it, how aware you are of your needs. So it's difficult for other people to help you if you don't know what helps you. So that's also I speak about that during the conference. But it's very important to allow yourself some time to discover and test and fail. But that's a lesson learned of, oh well, I don't need this, or I need this. All of that is more knowledge, and hence more power to yourself to be able to then say, hey, this is what I need from you.
Mhm.
um, and that also takes practice. Even if you know it, it's how to verbalize it for others to understand, for neurotypicals to understand, for and how to first of all respect your needs, because a lot of the times we're going to accommodate everybody else, but then kind of not even knowingly ignore our needs and then go, why am I all not well? Well, because I spent all the day ignoring my needs, and it wasn't okay. So knowing yourself and what you need, and then practicing verbalizing it for it to be understood by others. Obviously, someone who does not want to understand or hear about it, the whatever you'll say, that you could say it the most perfect way, they're not open to it. So it's also recognizing that. So who to talk to and be able to see, okay, that person's open to helping me. I just need to show them how. I just need to tell them how. Um, and so, you know, setting yourself up for success in that is yes, respecting, verbalizing, and then following through on that. So you're telling them what you need, and as much as you're respecting it for yourself, you assure they respect it for yourself. And so you'll decide who you open up to and how much you open up to them. And it's about respect. So you neurotypical, neuroatypical, as long as there's openness and respect, and you're willing to communicate with the other person, then we could work together towards it. So in my case, my job is hybrid, so I can work a lot at home. So when I have to concentrate on things, I'm not distracted by coworkers that are chatting, asking questions, and most is online for video conferences and stuff. So I'm not the only one working from home. So we'll be on the computer and hybrid. So I can go in the office if I want to, if there's a brainstorming session and it's just going to be fun and work together in those kind of situations, or go to the clients and sometimes give training to the client. That could sometimes be online or in person, which works for me, because being sitting down at a computer all day, a lot of us kind of don't really like that.
True.
So I found a job that works for me in that way as well. So, is respecting me and my needs, go with what I choose to pursue as a career, which company I choose to work at, that will give me that flexibility. The same as if I spend 40 hours a week giving, coaching and teaching and being out there. Well, I'm going to be exhausted at the end of the day. I still, I love it, but it still demands energy. So having that balance and doing what I'm best at, what I like to do, is how I ended up in this job, and how, why I like this job, is being able to do a lot of different things, because I love learning about different things. I love, communicating and, meeting a lot of different people. So choose, make choices to help you. Don't try to fit in a job that, oh, it's supposed to be good for your career. It looks well on your CV. My family wants me to do that, but it doesn't work for you. You're not helping yourself. And then again, knowing about you, what you want, what you like, what works, in order to find the job. The same as, you like sports, or you like arts, and then you choose your activities and you choose your friends as well. When I was talking about, respecting your needs, verbalizing them, if the person doesn't give a hoot about what you want and what your needs are, well, maybe you should stop, trying to, you try. But at one point, if you're like, I try, and it's still a brick wall, well, maybe I'll, put my energy with other people that I like to be around and that respect me and what I need. So that's a lot of energy you're going to save. And it's just so much more fulfilling, so much more fun and joy in your life when you said, look, I tried as much as I could, it's still not working. Relationships are a two-sided thing. So you can't be just trying to fit in with the other person. So it's a factor. It's a lot of different factors in your life, and you have to take some time and reassess those factors. Is it aligned with what I need, what I want, where I want to go, who I want to become? So If it's not, then there's choices to be made, and every choice is staying in a relationship with someone that's not there or cutting that relationship. There's good and bad consequences on all of them, or results if you want, if you don't like consequences. And at the end of the day, do what will make it better for you in the long run. It might be difficult now, but it'll be so much better afterwards. Um, so getting what you need is about, self affirmation, affirmative actions, and um, and so when you start doing that, and start with small steps, because you know I wasn't used to it, and it felt, it was demanding. It was difficult to change those behaviors that I was, ignoring myself, and always, trying to please others. And so
Mm-hmm.
the more you have little wins, then and you have to practice. It's constantly reminding yourself, no, wait, no, I'm not okay with that. I just said yes, but no, I'm not. And it's okay to go, hey, you told me this before, and I didn't really like that. You can come
Mm-hmm.
back. So practice. It's constant. And once that becomes a new habit, then yeah, a little bit more and the bigger wins. And that's when you have created for yourself a life where you're surrounded by people that respect you, that know you, that you can communicate with properly, and that everybody's open and respectful about that. And you found, you've looked for a job that meets your needs specifically, that you want to do, that you like to do, in a company that respects you as well. So no, and I was open in my company by saying I was neurodivergent, and sometimes at the during the interview. Okay, so what would be sometimes something that, clients or colleagues can, different, problem communicating. And I'm like, well, sometimes I talk a lot, or sometimes I'll explain a lot something, and then the person's like, no, no, I understand, it's okay. And sometimes I'll think they don't need explanation, and they're gonna be like, huh? And I'm gonna, oh, I have to explain. So it depends on some people, and sometimes it'll take a little, adjusting, and going, oh, I know this person now, I could do it, but it needs communication. And you know what the boss answered? Oh, same with me. Sometimes I explain way too much, and sometimes I explain way, not enough. And it's all about, adjusting, and being open, and the other person saying, oh, I don't understand quite, or oh no, I'm good, I got it. And so just having that answer, I was like, oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to be perfect from the start with people I just met. So it was a very human. Like, we're all human. We're all gonna adapt, and it's okay. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. You know?
Yeah, and what you said is also to be open about talking about your neurodiversity, right? It's not about hiding it and being scared of what people will think about it. Like I said in my intro. And yeah, so if we go a little bit more about your colleague or your family, how did they react in knowing that you have ADHD? Were you open about it? Or maybe not with your family, but I mean with people that you don't necessarily know that much, but you still feel the need that maybe you should talk to them. So, what was your experience about that?
So one question they ask you when you go for your diagnosis, oh,
Mm-hmm.
do family members have it? I was like, huh, yeah, I think my dad might be, or or my mom. And then so when I said, yeah, I got the official diagnosis, and so some of them go like, oh, well, I want to learn a bit more, and so they research, and I was sending them things, and I was like, yeah, so you understand a little bit more about my reality.
Mm-hmm.
So some will be open and go like, oh, that's something I don't know. um, and some other people are like, huh? um, like, you were just being different. But the important part is, with me changing my behavior and respecting my putting my boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
I had to, when I said, your communication with people and them being open, I had to say it like, look, I'm going to be different. I'm going to make my needs be known and respected.
Mm-hmm.
And so this will change the relationship we have together.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're okay and willing to change the relationship we have together and accept sometimes I will say, no, I cannot, I'm setting my boundaries, then
Yeah.
let's do this together. And if you're not okay with our relationship changing, then that's your decision and I respect it. And someone who's not willing to change and adapt and have a more respectful relationship and accept that sometimes you do put your boundaries, then that someone is not there for you. And they don't want the relationship to change because they had the power, because you
Mm-hmm.
were a people pleaser. Yeah. And so not a lot actually went like, oh no, like this doesn't work for me. Or sometimes they'll say yes, and eventually you kind of evolve in different ways, but mostly people would be like, oh okay, so just being aware that I think sometimes like it'll be a bit different from now on. um People who love you will be there for you, and
Mm-hmm.
will accept that change and will be happy to see you develop in this more 2.0 version, this more fulfilled, more happy, more taking the place that you deserve, not more, not less, just being
Mm-hmm.
you with other people being them. But sorry, to return to your question, what was the question?
I was asking how did you feel to talk about your diagnosis to people that you don't know as much, like your colleagues,
Mm-hmm.
work, etc., etc. Because sometimes you need to talk about it if you
Mm-hmm.
want to get the accommodation you need, right?
Yeah. So it's up to you to decide how much you share. I have, the people I work with are very aware of it, and mostly like they know it, but it doesn't really affect much. And so when I started the job I have now, some colleagues have been like, okay, so what should I know, and what would be helpful for you, and like that I could do, or like that you would like for interactions, or how I communicate, or on projects, or and that was like, wow, you want me to tell you, and when you're not ready, you're like, well, I don't know. um, and that's okay to say I don't know, but I'll get back to you, I'll think about it. You don't have to answer right away. um, and so it just sometimes we have tendencies of cutting other people and when they're speaking and interjecting, and
Mm-hmm.
so there's a little bit more understanding. Obviously you have to be careful as well, but at least when it does happen, they don't go, oh my god, this person's very rude. It's also yourself catching and, oh, I'm sorry I cut you off, go ahead, and
Mm-hmm.
I restrained as well. But it's knowing that they won't automatically go, oh, like I don't like this colleague, like this new person is just rude. um but also being open with, well, if I'm in an open office, like I'm gonna have my earplug, like, and I will try as little as possible. It's not because I don't like you that I don't go in the office. It's because
Mm-hmm.
that is very demanding for me, and I'm not as efficient in my work when there's people moving around and sounds. So that's, they know, and I'm there when there's social stuff, and when I have to work I'm not there. um it's just understanding those little things, and like I said, I'm in an environment where everybody has their own personality, everybody has their own things, and is very open. It's obviously a little bit more difficult when you're in a very like structured place of work and they're not used to having everybody as their own person, and
Mm-hmm.
where you're supposed to be like everybody else and this is the rule. And so then, yeah, you be careful and how you bring it up. And you might be in an environment that's completely not there yet, that's completely shut off, and they're like, no, we can't do any accommodations for you, which sucks, but they still do exist. So it's a lot difficult, and I would maybe be more cautious in you know explain, telling everybody about everything that I am. But I would still try to, one step at a time, like say, hey, I would need this, or um, and most places have laws about having to accommodate, so it's finding that one person that's maybe a bit higher up than you, that would be open to that and helping you, not be the only voice heard of um, maybe needing to accommodate, and maybe seeing with your colleagues. Sometimes other colleagues are like, yeah, this is so hard, like I get. And so if you're multiple people going like, this is not working, like it would be better if we can have like a little bit of freedom on this, then strength in numbers. So it's really adapting to, it's testing the boundaries of what you can ask for. And sometimes when you're at the point where I was, and I was going, no, like this is what I need, and I found a job that had that was already there, that was already with everybody's themselves, and oh, you're neurodiverse, you're cool, we'll learn more about it. So I do encourage people to just see what's around there, because there's so many horrible places to work, but there's so many nice places as well. And when you're stuck in this horrible environment where nobody, you're just the weird person and kind of annoying, that affects self-esteem. That affects your ability to stand up and say, no, this is what I need. And so that worked for the job environment you were in before, but if you do want to change, sometimes have to change, and sometimes it'll be the work and the people around you. So but people I meet in the street, I'm just like my special self, and you can't please everybody. and
No.
and that's for everybody in the world. Like, if you're deemed normal or not, you don't like everybody. Some people you're like, no, not my type of person. And that'll be the same for others. They have no specific thing that you did wrong. They're just like, not my type of person. So knowing that and just letting go of that, which is a work on itself, um, means you be you, and whoever's like, hey, that person's cool, they'll gravitate towards you, and you'll end up being with people that like you for who you are, and that you connect with, because they're also their quirky self. And so instead of being trying to fit with everybody else's needs and what you think they want to see you as a person so you're not too weird, well, you end up having people that don't fit you in your surroundings. So, it's when I said slow steps, it's like, affirming yourself a little bit more, and eventually, yeah, you'll have your own community that vibes the same way you truly vibe, and that's beautiful too.
Kathy was asking, do you have specific tools you use to help yourself adjust
Adjust to
to the?
changing.
Yeah, exactly, something like that. She didn't specify what kind of tools, but
Um,
I suppose it's when in your conversation that you just have, probably
well,
she found.
adjust to how much you divulge of yourself. Uh, well, and I know it's not always easy for all of us, but sometimes you say too much, or you say something and you see the reaction of the person going, like, you're like, oh, that's not the reaction I was expecting. So maybe, and it's okay to go like, oh, like maybe you misunderstood what I meant, or let me like try to rephrase it. And like, it's the best I would be able to say is, one step at a time. So small, and then you see how the reaction goes with that. And then, oh, maybe I could go a little further. And when you like, oh, I think I reached the limit, it's being hyper aware of your surrounding, of how people react, and yeah, and reading other people is not always easy for me, and
Mhm.
definitely not easy for everybody, and hence it's okay to ask, like, oh, I'm not quite sure, like, I see a reaction, but I'm not quite sure what it
Mhm.
is. Did I say, ask the questions, and to learn. So I think, which was a learning process for me as well. As a kid, I did not fit in at all. I was bullied, etc. And it's by testing and trial and error that I ended up, learning a little bit more, and okay, so that reaction might not be good, but it's so a lot of me interacting with the world is learned behavior from trial and error, and seeing what works, what doesn't work, how people react, what does that mean. um it's a huge database, and that's what we use to mask, to blend in community. So I try to not mask anymore, but I still use that information to interact with the world more. I was going to say something and then I forgot. um to Yeah. So I
Yeah.
just, there's obviously some time, I adjust to my surrounding as well. Like when you're in a specific setting, it might not be the best to go like, hey, be the life of the party. No, you're at a funeral. Like, calm down. um, and sometimes it is okay to be loud, and so obviously, be yourself, but also be aware of your surroundings, and sometimes modulate accordingly. But adjusting, what helped me adjust to being more, um, standing on my own 2 feet, and and putting my boundaries and making them respected, was I at one point, I was able to find a therapist, and I was talking a lot to her, and so it could be a therapist or it could be a friend that's there to support you and wants to, and because that's what friends are for as well, is to support each other. And so talking to someone and going like, yay, that was a win, and I was like, oh yeah, it actually was, making you realize, like, the little things, and oh, this is difficult, and I like, oh yeah, but slowly you're getting there. So encouragement, and sometimes just a sounding board. Like, so you say, oh, I did this, like, oh well, maybe did you try this? Oh no, the next time I will. And so you're not alone in that journey. So have people around you that are willing to talk to you, to listen, to understand, and to help you and try to find solutions. And it's okay to talk about it, and just find that person that you feel comfortable to talk to. That's important. So that helped me adjust a lot. And sometimes some things would happen. I'd talk to her and, no, that's not normal behavior. That's not normal that
Mm-hmm.
that person reacted that much to you saying, no, I can't right now, So that also gives you a good baseline to say, okay, so I had this huge reaction. Okay, yeah, maybe I was the one that was not, very proper. And then sometimes you have this huge reaction, and like, no, you were fine. I was there. I heard you, what you said, and the person reacting to that was completely out of line. So it helps you judge where you stand, and how what you're trying
Mm-hmm.
is working or not, or is socially accepted, but
Mm-hmm.
also, well, how did it feel? It felt well until that person overreacted. And
Mm-hmm.
knowing that that person overreacted, it's not because I was out of line. Then you're like, okay, then I'm adjusting to, I will keep with this because it's okay. And it helps you create your new self-awareness with the rest of the world, in being your new self, where it's okay to put boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
where someone could overreact because you're putting boundaries, because before they were used to walking all over you and making you do whatever they wanted, and for once you're saying no, and oh my god, because some people out there will gaslight you and make you feel like you're wrong, and you're
Mm-hmm.
the one who should be ashamed, or because of the way you're acting, and the way you're acting is just standing up for yourself. um, so having someone to say, no, you were fine, like,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps you reinforce that behavior, that change, that you're adjusting to your new self in this world. um, I think that helps a lot. So therapist or friend, or both, or yeah.
Thanks so much again for being here today. I wanted to share everybody the t-shirt that I've made that you can buy here. You can see it. my brain works differently, like we said today. Our brain works differently. So if you're interested in getting it, you can simply contact me. I think I have the link here, but I'm not totally sure. Oh yeah, I have it. So if you see down below, you can get the t-shirt. Every penny that you spend that comes to me is going to be using for tutorings, etc., etc. Anything helps. So if you want to get a t-shirt, you can get it down below. So thank you so much, Haeila, for being here today. I feel so happy that you took the time to speak with me today. So again, if you want to watch or you can buy the replay of the neurodiversity awareness event that was there on September 12th, but it's in replay, so you can watch it again. And I'm making a better event for next time. I am going to rent a full production to film and stream the event, so the quality image is going to be even better. So, and yeah, so thank you so much again for being here. We're seeing each other next Friday, so have an amazing day, everybody.
Thank you so much
Bye.
for having me.